Right. We are excited to share with you about the art of aligned pitch and how to communicate your value, create opportunity, and grow your impact. And I'm Dr. Trevor Cates, and I'm here with Dr. Amy Bader. And so, for those of you who don't know us, we'll just give a little background. I'm a naturopathic physician. I've been practicing for 26 years. In addition to seeing patients, I also have written a couple of books, Clean Skin from Within and Natural Beauty Reset, USA Today bestseller, and I also started a company called the Spa Doctor. It is a skincare supplement line, and I started it about 10 years ago, sold it about 3 years ago, and I learned a lot along the way. And business is not something they teach you much about in medical school. But I feel like at this point I have some sort of business degree from all the things that I learned in starting and scaling and selling the Spot Doctor company, with all the TV shows that I did, and truly remarkable, like the two podcasts and the docu-series, so much experience that I've gained, and I am excited to share it with other people, my colleagues, and that's why I've joined forces with Amy. So Amy, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Amy Bader. I've also been a practicing naturopathic physician for 26 years. Actually, Trevor and I went to school together, and we've known each other a very long time. And we've had interesting parallel lives because while Dr. Trevor was creating the Spa Doctor and going through the knocks of life as an entrepreneur, I was also doing that in my own regard. I co-founded a company called Skin Tea, the world's first sparkling collagen tea. And over the couple years we were on the shelves, made it in just shy of 9,000 retail outlets, lots of online DTC platforms. We've raised almost $15 million, and we also had an exit in 2023. And even though I had my first career in accounting and finance, what you learn as an entrepreneur is so much more involved. And it's everything from PR and media, as Trevor said, to, she and I will both attest to operations and logistics and strategy and brand and everything from taxes to sales, right? So we both kind of done this in the wellness space, coincidentally a little bit in the beauty space as well. And really have it's taught us so much, and we want to use that information and that knowledge to help other people do these kinds of things because we believe wholeheartedly there's so much opportunity. And it's really healthy for people in health and wellness to build an ecosystem around themselves to optimize, their cash flow and their opportunities. So welcome.
Yeah. And we came together because we both exited our companies around the same time, and because we've been friends for a long time. And we decided, well, hey, let's help our colleagues because we learned so much. And while we have some free time, let's help our colleagues and help the health and wellness and beauty space. And we created what we call the Align framework. And we'll explain in a bit about why that's important, especially in the topic that we're talking about today. And we like calling it the aligned pitch. But I think a lot of people get scared of the word pitch, but it's
Mhm.
really something we use a lot of, right, Amy?
Yeah, yeah. How many times do you think you pitched today? Well, I'm here to argue you probably pitched a lot today. I think a lot of people in our world, especially practitioners, think of the word pitch associated with selling something or raising money, kind of think it has a specific meaning. But honestly, every single time you talk about your work, you're pitching. So it could be anything from introducing yourself to a colleague at a conference, putting up a social media post, or it might be doing something like creating or having a chat with a potential investor raising money. It could also be talking to a patient who just came to see you and explaining the transformation that you hope that they achieve. And so it's really something we do every single day. And there's an art to doing it well. And that's why we wanted to do this with all of you, because we want you to think of your everyday pitches and make them very intentional so that they can serve you in your business.
So the problem with most pitches is that, and that is, all in all of these different ways, is that they're oftentimes either too vague or they're too complicated. They're too focused on the person presenting it and not on the audience. Or maybe they're not even clear on who the audience is that they need to be specific to. So people might leave a conversation thinking, wow, well, that's a really interesting person, probably very well educated, but I'm not sure what they do. But conversation. But what you want instead is people to actually, do something as a result of your pitch. So that's what we want to talk about.
Right. So this happens at an intersection. And this intersection involves a few key parts. Most of us only think of the first two parts. We forget the second two parts. And so those parts are like who you are and what you do. We're good at that typically, but who you serve and why that matters. What transformation do you help people with? What problems do you solve? So we often will forget to add those bits to our pitch, and those are honestly the most important parts of a pitch. And so when you align all of these elements together, people can much more easily remember you. They can explain you to somebody else. That helps opportunities find you. It helps people refer to you. It helps people know that, oh, that's someone I want to collaborate with because they know exactly what they do. And so you can see how that clarity can really open up doors.
Yes. And so it is about also that creating that trust. So clarity, confidence, credibility, and alignment of all three, this is where it ties in together.
So you're pitching all over. You're pitching all over the place. And one of the things that we want to hit home tonight is that we're going to talk about how you define kind of your core message, your core pitch. It may take on different flavors depending on who you're talking to, but the message is going to stay consistent, right? So when you talk to a patient, maybe you're even an initial consultation to explain to them how you work and what you hope to achieve, that might have a little bit of a different tone than when you're talking to someone about your professional growth. Like maybe you're on a podcast, or you're on a stage speaking to colleagues, or you're talking to a journalist. Again, you're still explaining your work with the same core message. You're maybe just wrapping it in a little bit of a different vernacular. And then when it comes to business growth, the most important part of that those four parts we talked about earlier is that last part, the transformation. Why would someone come to you? Why would someone buy your thing? Why would someone want to work with you? Well, if you could be clear about the problems you solve, the transformations you offer with your business, with your expertise, then people want to do business with you. They want to buy what you're selling, and that grows your business.
Yeah, so every opportunity begins with a pitch. So you might know Dr. Michael Bruce, who is known as the sleep doctor. He pitched sleep, and that's across the board, and that is what he is known for. Dr. Mark Hyman pitched functional medicine. Of course, that's what he is known for. Brene Brown pitched vulnerability. That's what she got to become known for. And it's really clear what each of what their expertise is. And experts don't become known for everything. They become known for something specific.
Okay. So the clearer you are, the easier it is for people to understand what you do and to speak about you and to want to include you. So let's talk about referrals for a moment. This is a particular area that I think is important to understand. Someone might absolutely love you, but if they can't explain what you do, they're probably not going to refer to you. And that can be really important if you're building a practice, for example. They want to send a customer your way or a patient your way. So that's going to create some friction between you and the potential client or patient. So think about the downstream effects of being clear with how you explain who you are, what you do, who you serve, and how you help them, right? What the solution is. Someone might want to interview you. Let's say a podcaster wants to interview you, or a journalist wants to ask your opinion on something. If people don't know who you are and also how you help and what you do, who you serve, it's going to be difficult for them to understand you're a clear person to go to for that information or for that interview opportunity, or invite you to be on a stage, or invite you to speak at a summit, or want to collaborate with you. So again, you can understand how important that clarity is. And the simplest messages are clear and short. Okay, so we'll work on that.
Yeah. And I mean,
Mhm.
for example, with the spa doctor, when I was working on that and wrote my first book, Clean Skin from Within, I became known as a natural skin expert in the health and wellness space. And
Mhm.
so that was kind of unique in the health and wellness space, especially at the time more people are doing some integrative dermatology and things now. But at the time when I started, it was pretty different. So patients would come to me because they heard, oh, you're a naturopathic doctor and you know a lot about skin, plus, you're a naturopathic doctor. People would interview me when they thought, oh, I need to know, I want to interview someone on skin. And then I
Mhm.
would say, oh, you need to interview Dr. Cates.
Mhm.
People would say, I want to invite you to this conference because to speak, or also networking conferences to attend because we don't have anybody else in the skincare space. So we want to invite you. They would want to collaborate with me because they say, oh, skin complements hormones and I'm focusing on hormones. I want to, let's do a podcast together. Let's do an event together. So these are kind of some of the examples. And
Mhm.
when it comes to our align framework, it really ties well into this. And so what align stands for is the A is aspire. And that is, in this case, it is, why do you do this work? What is your inspiration? What do you aspire? What is the inspiration behind it? And a lot of us go into a particular area of focus because of a personal experience. So you might feel really called to do something because it is your own personal journey. And that was part of my story too, because I struggled with skin issues as a child. And it's one of the things that led me to find naturopathic medicine and really help my health. And so that is what we focus on a lot in the Align framework, is making sure that you do the things that you're most passionate about. Why do you do this work? What is your why? And so it might be your personal story, or you might have just have repeated success in a certain area. And so you love doing this because you see this transformation in people. And then the L is lead. What authority and expertise do you bring? Now, you guys are our community generally that are coming to these webinars are usually practitioners of some sort or health and wellness experts. So you probably have a lot of authority and expertise that you can lead from. I think it's interesting when we talk to practitioners, a lot of times they don't think of themselves as leaders, but you are. And so leaning into that. And I is integrate. Is your message consistent everywhere? How do you integrate that across all different platforms and across your what we call the ecosystem? And that is all the different areas of your business, how it ties together around your core work. And then G is grow. Does your audience understand your value, your transformation you provide so that you can create more of these opportunities and this growth for your business. And then N is navigate. What action do you want them to take? But also, how does that help you navigate different opportunities?
You can see how those elements, being clear on those things and stepping into that, can help you really be powerful when you talk about your work. And so we can take all of that and distill it down to some simple language around how to tell people what you do, what problems you solve, it's so powerful. Okay, so let's think about the elements that are going to go into a pitch, and then we're going to walk you through an exercise you can do. So, first, you need to know what problem you're solving. People don't spend money just to listen to you ramble. They want to hear what solutions you have for them. So, it's really about, are you going to solve a problem? Are you going to create transformation for a particular audience? Okay, so knowing who you're talking to, whose problems you're solving, the number one and number two on here on these elements are super, super important. And then also not forgetting to talk about the solution, the transformation. So 1 + 2 = 3. 1 + 2 = 3 when we come into like creating your pitch. The fourth is your unique perspective. Okay. What do you bring uniquely that other people might not in the way you can help this transformation happen? What expertise do you have or what approach do you have that can set you apart? Because that can really help your pitch be memorable and it can really help people be drawn to you because of that uniqueness. And then lastly, when you're talking to folks, no matter what the audience is, it's really helpful to have an easy transition into the next step they can take to communicate with you, work with you, buy your book, buy your product, sign up for your program, whatever that might be.
Yeah, so the exercise here that we want to pause and have you, whether you're joining us live or you're watching the recording, is to think about this. Take a moment to think about this for yourself. And this is the sentence you can kind of fill in here. Maybe you've already done something like this. If you've worked with us before, you probably have heard us talk about something similar to this. So I help, and this is for you to fill in. I help blank, which is the audience number two that on here, overcome blank, the problem, so they can blank, which is the solution, number three. And once you have that, then you can also add in to this your unique perspective. And that ties into the A and a line that we just talked to. Why do you love this work? What is it that you makes this unique for you? Maybe you have personal experience. Maybe you have a unique framework that you use. People love frameworks. Um, uh, and then also you can also tie in the next step, which is really what we call, the CTA or the call to action. What is it that you want people to do based upon your pitch? But the first step before you do four and five, you have to answer the fill in the blanks in the sentence. So I'm just going to pause for a moment because I know how it gets. You might watch this recording and then say, oh, I'll do this later, but I'm going to pause here, even for the recording, just so you have a moment to fill this out. Okay, so we're going to move ahead, but feel free to keep working on this. This sometimes can take time. If you have already worked on this, and this probably could be pretty easy. So, the three questions every audience is asking when they hear a pitch, when they hear a presentation, when they hear what you have to say, is they're wondering, is this for me? Can I see myself? Can I see myself in this scenario? And then the second thing is two, can you help me? Can this person that's presenting, can this person actually help me? And then the third thing is, what should I do next? So especially if one is yes and two is yes, then the three should be easy. You should make that super easy. And ideally, you're going to have a good pitch that's going to answer all three. Now, here's the important piece. What you offer is not for everyone on the planet. So you want to be clear about your audience. And if your audience is really, really small, that's okay. You don't have to have a massive audience, especially if you have a high ticket, coaching program, patient concierge program, then you may want to be very select so you don't burn yourself out with a lot of clients, customers, or followers. So you might do better with a smaller audience, and that's okay. But when you speak to a person and they hear, oh, she or he really gets me. They really get me, and I think they can actually help me. Okay, so now what do I do? And so that's what you want in your presentation.
Okay. So this is a really important point for those of you who are watching who are practitioners. Trevor and I work with a lot of NDs, MDs, NPs, people who are highly educated, they've got tons of credentials, they've done tons of work to become experts. But we have a default mechanism that kind of puts us in this position where we tend to say, I'm an ND with 26 years of experience in hormonal health. Okay. What people don't realize is that audiences don't buy acronyms, they buy results, they buy the transformation. And that's why it's so important to lead with a transformative kind of pitch. This is who I help, and this is how I help them. This is the result they're going to get. So you can kind of see why that's important. Listen to the difference in the sentence. I'm a naturopathic physician with 26 years of experience in hormonal health. Okay, that's leading with my credentials. Listen to this. I help women in midlife optimize hormones so they can regain their vitality and feel like themselves again. That's much more compelling. The next sentence is probably, how do you do that? I'm a naturopathic physician with 26 years of experience in helping people with their hormones. And so you can see how the credentials reinforce the transformation, right? So they're important and they're what gives credibility to your ability to provide what you're telling people you can offer in your pitch. But remember, it doesn't just stop with the acronyms. It has to keep going so people fully understand if they're the right patient for you or the right participant or reader or customer. So don't forget to make sure your pitch includes what they want to hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first version that you said is like, that's interesting. But
Yeah,
with,
wow. Yeah, cool.
okay, so if you do have a pitch already, or when you start to work on it, I want to take you through some different lenses to see if it's if it's needs some work or not. So when you think about what you currently say, think about, is it clear? Is it memorable? Does it create curiosity? So ideally, you don't just give a whole monologue brain dump, but you create enough of an intrigue, especially in a conversation, where the person then asks you a question like, I want to know more about. So tell me more about how you do this transformation, and is this differentiated? Is it audience focused? And so I want to pause for a moment. If you have something that you say of, I help so and so with such and such, and my unique angle is this, then, or something similar, go ahead and take a moment to write that down and think through these questions. Okay, great. And you can always come back and spend more time on this. But since we've just been covering these, I want you to kind of take that through all these questions and make sure that you're hitting on these.
Okay. So hopefully this slide is going to relieve any anxiety anybody's feeling right now, because the reality is once you nail your core message, it stays the same. It stays the same. It really just that it changes in terms of the delivery that you're using based on who you're speaking to. For example, if you're at a networking event, you're at a conference and you're meeting people, you introduce yourself, starting with something very short and conversational. That delivery of your pitch that's a little curiosity provoking may be the way to engage that person for them to want to learn more about who you are, what you do, who you serve, what you transform. If you're on a podcast and they're asking you about who you are and what you do, when you deliver that pitch, and maybe in the format, more of a storytelling format, a narrative type format where you're giving examples as you tell kind of the long form version of that. If you are speaking to investors, for example, they might want to understand how your core message will translate into driving customers to your business, or, how consumers might resonate with that. And so you're going to be showing them how that messaging will resonate and how you repeat it over and over again. If you're speaking to a journalist, they often want really short little quips. They want to know who you are, what you do, what you try very quickly. One of the things I can say from my experience with skin tea, and I'm sure Trevor can speak to this too with her experience with the spa doctor, is, once you've nailed the core message and you repeat it over and over and over and over again, it becomes much easier to repeat with clarity and confidence. And that's a really nice thing. And there's another slide later that indicates this, but once you tell it over and over again, you start to build that trust and recognition that then is very good for your business pursuits. And so getting good at that core message and there's learning how to make those little tweaks for these individuals or these audiences, that's the same. It's also a patient. You might have a little bit of a different tone when you talk to a patient and might be really focused on the transformation that you deliver with the patient in a clinical setting, but it's still the same core message, most likely.
Yeah, and so this really becomes an opportunity ladder. So it kind of builds on it. So you can make connections, referrals, collaboration. It helps improve visibility, speaking, media, partnerships, growth. So I can give an example with the spa doctor is I would go to entrepreneurial conferences and I would make connections there. I part of one of the conferences I would go to. This was one of the things that we worked on. It was this kind of
Mhm.
like making a succinct statement of what we do and an ask of the people in the room. And
Mhm.
so at this particular conference, I was known as the skincare person. And I knew a lot about clean skin from within and natural skincare products. And people from that group would refer to me. And so I got some patients from that. I got some customers for the skincare products. Some of these people were authors, podcast hosts. So then they wanted to collaborate. They wanted to have me on their podcast. That gave me greater visibility. It was getting out there more. And that led to other speaking opportunities. People wanted me to, I was constantly being asked to speak on summits, on stages. And then that led to media opportunities, being on the doctor's TV show, Extra TV, a PBS show, lots of other opportunities, and then partnerships and growth. And so that one of the somebody that went to one of those conferences, that particular conference I went to, talked to the people who work at the conference, and that's how I found the buyers for the
Mhm.
spa doctor. So that led to
Yeah.
a great partnership and growth, and a nice exit.
Yeah. Okay. So let's kind of wrap this up a little bit and come back together thinking about the purpose of this. So, what a lot of people will tell Trevor and I when we work them is pitching feels very uncomfortable. But what we're here to tell you is if you can really align yourself, and we do that work in our framework a lot with your passion, and you stop thinking about pitching as closing a sale or closing a deal or about, quite frankly, impressing someone, and you start thinking about your pitches, making it easy for people to understand your value, it stops feeling weird. It starts feeling normal, authentic, sincere, and people can feel that. And so that creates not just clarity, but it builds trust. And when you do it over and over and over, that trust gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then other people can speak to about you for you on your behalf to other people because they understand who you are, they understand what you do, and they understand how you help. So it's really about creating clarity so that all of this just kind of flows, doors open.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so when your message is aligned, your confidence grows, your visibility expands, and doors open for you. So,
Yeah.
I do want to go back for a moment because I just thought of something with this, what I was sharing with you with this ladder and me finding the buyer for the spa doctor. I'd actually kind of forgotten about this. But when I was presenting at that initial conference and they were teaching us, this is, kind of how you say, this is what I do and this is my ask. I just remembered what my ask was or that what my goal was in that statement. And it was something I can't remember the whole thing, but the second part is what I just remembered. And it was something like I help women over 40 transform their skin, have the most healthy skin of their lives with the use of natural skincare products. And what my goal is, this is the part I wanted, it was something I don't know exactly what it was, but I said my goal is to 10x my company. And I think I said within 5 years. And um, that actually happened as a result of selling the company. So me putting that out there
Yeah.
led to people connecting me with the buyer that actually made that happen. So
Yeah.
it is a powerful thing. So if we go back to that sentence, oops, here it is.
Mhm.
It's a powerful statement. It's a simple thing,
Mhm.
but it can become a powerful thing, especially get in the right room and in the right environment. So
Yeah,
speaking
exactly.
of right environments, um, Amy and I are getting ready to do our next Align Spark Tank experience. So this is a strategic immersion for wellness practitioners and founders. And you can learn more about it at the alignframework.com/programs. This will be starting in mid-September, and we will have this as a small curated group. So we do have ask people to fill out applications unless we know you and we've done work with you in the past, then you don't have to do the application. But we are starting mid-September and we will do an in-person retreat the weekend of October 16th through the 19th in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And the retreat will be in Scottsdale at a beautiful, beautiful home with a tennis court, I'm sorry, pickleball courts, pool and gardens, and it's just gorgeous. And then we will do Spark Tank, which is a great presentation experience, whether you want to present or you want to just be in the audience and celebrate those that are doing something very innovative in natural medicine. That will be at Sonora in the Naturopathic Medical School in Tempe, Arizona on October 17th. So all of that information is on our website, thealignframework.com, and /programs is where you'll learn about the Align Spark Tank experience. The other thing that we're doing different with this next group, in addition to combining into one virtual plus in person, is that after the in-person event, we have a 90-day action plan that we have people work on during the retreat, but what we realized is we wanted follow up. We wanted to follow through. So we're going to add that component on. So for 90 days, we're going to stay in touch with you and with the group, and we're going to continue to do virtual work so that we can make sure that you get the most out of this. So we have early bird pricing happening now that ends July 13th. So make sure you sign up soon. And that also is based upon availability. And we have we have two different levels you can choose from. You can have the group experience, or you can choose the VIP experience, which includes some one-on-one calls with us, staying actually at the retreat house with us, joining us at the VIP dinner with the guest judges and presenters of Spark Tank. And so we invite you to join us. The other thing is if those dates don't work for you and you really just want us to help you build something, we do a custom build experience. And that is based upon, you'll have to fill out some information, give us some information, and then we can give you an estimate on what that would be. But we are here to help, and we're going to stop the recording so we can take some questions.